That night, the forest seemed to swallow all the light. Only the flicker of a crackling campfire in the small circle gave dim illumination to the 4 people sitting across from each other.
Is this your first trip together? This experience will stay with you for the rest of your lives.
The cold air pierced the bones. Dry leaves on the ground hissed every time the wind passed, sounding like faint whispers from unseen voices. There they sat. Mark, a serious-faced man with anxious eyes. Dan, younger, trying to act relaxed even though his hands trembled. Donna, the elegant woman who always crossed her arms as if to shield herself. And lastly, Sally, with restless eyes, glancing around as if searching for a way out. Leading them was Darwin, a pale-faced man with a smile that was never truly warm. There was something in his gaze, dark and full of secrets, that made anyone uncomfortable if they stared too long. Darwin bowed his head, then spoke in a low, heavy voice, as if it echoed between the trees. You know, exactly 100 meters from here in 1933, a group of hikers found 3,500 corpses buried. No one ever knew who they were. Archaeologists, police, even forensic experts, they all gave up. What was clear was that those bones were twisted, broken, then burned.
They were dragged into the earth, and the evil year fed off them for an eternity.
As if something devoured them alive. Silence. The campfire flared for a moment, sending sparks of red embers into the air. The wind blew softly, carrying the stench of damp soil mixed with rot that suddenly stabbed their noses. Even before the first human set foot here, evil already existed. And that evil is hungry. His hand reached into a worn cloth pouch, then pulled out a wooden totem. Its carvings were rough. The totem was mossy, and up close there was a faint metallic smell, like dried blood. Darwin smiled thinly. This is how you feed the evil. Throw it into the fire, then tell the most terrifying story that haunts you. The greater your fear, the fuller they become. He handed the first totem to Mark. The fire reflected on Mark's face, making his expression appear even more tense. With heavy breaths, he began his tale. Mark's story. The monster in the old warehouse. Danny ran as fast as he could, his breath panted, his chest burning. Behind him, 2 men shouted, their voices harsh and full of anger. They were debt collectors. Their faces were red with rage. He had no choice but to run toward the old warehouse on the edge of town. As soon as he entered, darkness greeted him. The smell of rusted iron mixed with mold filled the air. His phone flashlight gave only a faint glow. Danny hid behind a rusty shelf, his body trembling. He tried to hold his breath, listening to the sound of heavy footsteps approaching. He spotted the exit door, but before he could reach it, one of the men blocked his way. Danny was beaten until his head spun, while the collector called out for his partner to come quickly. Danny's vision blurred. In his panic, he crawled under a shelf. That's when the strangeness began. Danny realized there was something else in that dark corridor. The collector ordered him to come out, but Danny tried to warn him. There was a strange creature behind him. Sadly, the collector didn't believe him. Suddenly, he was strangled, exhaling his last breath. His friend found the body and blamed Danny. He swore vengeance. Then the monster appeared, horrifying, with sharp claws and a grotesque face. Meanwhile, Terry, the other collector, searched for Danny. He felt something behind him, but it was only Danny. Terry grabbed him, convinced Danny had killed his partner. Danny tried to explain that it wasn't him, it was a creature.
There is something else stuck in here with us. I'm just going to kill it.
Unable to fight Terry, Danny begged him to leave. But when Terry dropped his guard, the monster struck, tearing him apart. Danny tried to help, but the monster slashed his leg. Barely escaping, Danny was found by a security guard, who promised to report to the police. But instead of calling, the guard tended to Danny's wound, saying he'd help first. Danny was disappointed. Things were too dire. While bandaging him, the guard showed him the CCTV footage. When they replayed it, the recording showed Danny being beaten. Then something shocking. It was Danny himself killing the 2 men. No monster. Confused, Danny panicked. The guard tried to call the police, but Danny heard a voice only he could hear.
Listen. What is it?
The monster appeared behind the guard, invisible to him. It was ready to kill. Danny, holding a cutter, screamed at it not to touch the man. In the chaos, he saw a photo of the guard's 2 grandchildren. That's when Danny decided to end his own life. Better to die before the monster fully took over, before it killed the grandfather of 2 children. Mark ended his tale with a pale face. The fire roared, as if pleased by the story just fed to it.
Who wants to exorcise their demons next?
I'll do it.
Dan received the second totem. He swallowed hard, then began. A single mother moved into an old house with her little boy, Charlie. The house was big, Beautiful, but empty. From the start, the mother felt something was wrong. They found an antique phonograph. Its color was dull black, the needle rusty, but when played, it gave off a mournful tune, almost like the song of a spirit. Days passed normally, but one day the mother heard footsteps upstairs.
Charlie!
She thought it was Charlie, but when she looked out the window, Charlie was playing in the yard. Knife in hand, she braved the upper floor, but it was empty, only a corridor, cold and damp. The phonograph began playing by itself. A faint shadow stood beside it. Every time the lights turned on, it vanished, leaving only a chilling trace in the air. One day, Charlie spoke innocently. The mother shuddered. She threw away the phonograph. But the next day, it returned. This time, accompanied by the ghostly nurse, her uniform soaked in blood, her face burned and ruined, her eyes black. The mother tried to burn it. Flames devoured the wood, but the next morning the phonograph stood whole in the living room, waiting. The nurse appeared again, terrible and relentless. They tried to escape, but the doors locked shut. The campfire cracked, its shadows stretching tall as if a parade of specters were watching. Donna took the totem. Her voice trembled, but she pressed on. A married couple celebrated their anniversary in a luxury hotel. The husband suggested trying a swingers night to spice things up. At first it was just fun, but after drinking a cocktail, his head spun, his body weakened. He realized something was in his drink. His hands were cuffed. A strange woman stood before him, wearing a ritual mask. A hot iron pressed into his chest. The stench of burning flesh filled the room, his screams echoing. He escaped, searching for his wife. Staff in the hallway guided him to her room, but when he entered, he froze. His wife was there, surrounded by dozens of masked figures. She smiled coldly. Happy anniversary. They dragged him onto an altar, his body bound. Ancient chants filled the air. A knife gleamed under candlelight. His screams echoed as his organs were torn out one by one. Finally, his heart was lifted high as an offering.
There's one more to go.
Her face pale. 3 people entered an old cinema. They wanted to watch a film, but at the counter, the food machine was broken. The attendant, a tall man, called his boss. The boss scolded him, saying the machine wasn't broken, he just didn't know how to use it. Popcorn and soda were finally prepared, but the boss kept scolding and even fired him. Enraged, the attendant put on a mask and killed the boss. One of the 3 witnesses tried to report it, but the others stopped him, fearing the attendant had turned into a psychopath. They could only watch in horror as the man strangled another victim. They tried to escape through the front, but the masked killer appeared in the darkness, blocking them. They ran. A woman tripped and fainted. When she woke, her friends were gone. She stumbled into another hall, finding a dead body. Footsteps echoed. She hid, but was soon caught and killed. The 2 remaining men fled to the restroom, finding another terrified woman. The killer entered. One of the men fought back but was crushed, his skull stomped until it shattered. The others ran to the back exit, but the woman was tricked. The man was shot by police, mistaken for the killer. Sally's voice cracked as she finished. Darwin clapped his hands slowly, smiling. Well done. All 4 of you told wonderful stories. The spirits are pleased. His laughter rang cold, echoing through the forest. The night passed. Morning came. They looked around. Darwin was gone. At first, they thought it was part of the trip, a one-of-a-kind experience. But when they checked, his wallet, watch, phone, even his notebook, were all gone. One of the women felt a strange dread. When she reached home, she couldn't find her mother. On the TV, news reported a brutal murder at a cinema, eerily similar to the story they had told the night before. And now, Darwin was already seen leading another new trip.